So I'm going to take you back to about 2018, long before Peak Shape. I just got out of jail, I'm on parole, got no license, got no job. I'd torched everything. I would say I was clinically depressed and very alone. And probably this would be the second or third time I've had to like properly start over, because I'm out of jail for the second time. But this time's like this is the big one. This is when I've got to like actually do it. The first few days are just about like falling back onto being 1% better. Because at that point, and like some of you guys have rocked up and you've been in a pretty state of despair when I do your first consult. So ultimately it's just about doing things that are 1% better and falling back onto the habits that you've already built. So I built ones in prison, like exercise each day. Didn't know it then, but there's also some mindfulness there. There's a shitload of time spent like in here, you know, decluttering. Didn't understand that was sort of meditation back then. I had no awareness for that. But anyway, I fall back onto those things. But even those simple things are really difficult in the first bit. You got no license, I'm living in my sister's spare room, I'm on parole. Mum goes and signs me up to a gym. But I've got to walk 40 minutes there and 40 minutes back every day just to get there. Then I've got to figure out how to get out of my sister's house and go and find a place to move to. Like once again, like how do I organise that? So once again, Mum comes and helps me. So I move into this shitty little unit out the back of Lavie. No offence to anyone who lives in Lavie still, but... Then also, like, I can't get a job, right? So I can't really, I'm still on parole. I've got no license. It's well known, all the shit I got up to. It's been well documented, so a lot of people know about it. So getting a job's, you know, it seemed impossible at that point. So I go back doing a little bit of work for myself on the weekend, and I spend the rest of the time just training and just honestly walking around on my own. Just walking a lot, doing a lot of head miles, a lot of thinking. Then I saved up enough money from working on the weekend to go and get a bike so I can get around a bit more. But like I think I was 28, 29, I'm riding a bike around. Like, it's fucking humiliating. Like, but the point of that is that, like, yeah, it's soul crushing and it's humiliating and it's all that, but my why has to be bigger than my why not. So riding to wash trucks on the weekend, riding to the gym, not just going out to steal a car and go back to what I used to do. Like, your why's got to be bigger than your why not, and you got to choose your hard. Like, everything's fucking hard. Like, it's really hard to do all these things. It's also really hard to sit and dwell in that shit and not go anywhere or go back to what I was doing. So choose your hard. Like, and that would be the thing I took out of that part of it. But that kind of state of depression and that unhappiness and that trying to rebuild, that goes on for, 2 years plus, like including the time in jail. So, 2.5 years, 3 years of fucking not being happy with myself. But anyway, I keep sticking at it, and there's this constant narrative all the time too in that 2 or 3 years where I'm like, there's no positive feedback loop. It's all, you're just a criminal, go back to doing what you're supposed to be doing. Like, there's no like, no, you can do this. So through probably some divine intervention more than anything, like little, there was definitely a time where I tried to go back to what I was doing, and then just through divine intervention more than anything, like that plan didn't work. So I'm like, well, fuck, I better scrap that, and I just kept working. So thankfully that probably didn't happen. But also there's probably a lot of discipline being built up. Just a lot of discipline in jail, like had a strict routine in there. So I've kind of brought that out to the outside. So building, like having those disciplined routines is really important. But I definitely didn't have any goals or a plan. Like, and I'm all about goals and plans these days, but I had none back then. So for about probably 2 or 3 years, there's just probably 2 years, I'm just riding my bike all the way up to Lavie, sometimes from Wodonga. I had to move to Wodonga, so I eventually got a job at a car dealership after, bashing on doors to left, right and centre. So I used to ride from Wodonga, like near Birralee all the way out to near Thaguna every weekend to detail trucks. Then I'd, ride back. I'd ride back and forth from Wodonga to go to that job. Also, I had to catch a bus to take Bo to daycare, which is fucking also humiliating. Yeah, but I was determined to do it. So probably the lesson in all that is, and also that stuff compounded the narrative in my head. When you're doing shit like that, just getting in a car and going to do things used to be so normal and simple, and when it's all taken away from you, you feel really, really low. But ultimately, no one's coming to save you, are they? No one's coming to do it for you. Stop being the fucking victim. Ultimately, all that bad choices and trauma, all self-inflicted. So take some responsibility and get on with it, which I did do. Kind of while I'm running those 2 jobs, I start doing my PST certificate, which studying at that point was very foreign to me. I didn't even finish year 9, so very out of my comfort zone. I don't even know if I had a laptop. I don't know even though I probably stole that. But really vital that I got out of my comfort zone at that point, because otherwise I was just going to be stuck doing that. They were just laborious jobs. They weren't fulfilling me. Really important. And then also there's an urge to go and give back or do something bigger that's more fulfilling, I suppose. So really important that I go through that period of getting uncomfortable. And I say it all the time, don't I? Get uncomfortable. Be really comfortable being uncomfortable. I wasn't comfortable for 2 or 3 years. And I'm sure Mum will remember. I was a miserable prick. Anyway, from this point, so I've got those 2 jobs. I'm doing my PT certificate, but this is where it starts to, everything just starts to open up. I pick up a couple of clients out of nowhere, I think through a friend, and this is where Revamp, before it was Peak Shape, was up and running, but I wasn't working there. And so I used to ride over at 5 a.m. from Wodonga, train these 2 clients, and then ride back to Wodonga for work at 8 a.m. Freezing cold, didn't matter, I just did it. Mostly out of stubbornness, probably, more than anything, more than letting people catch it, cheap prick wouldn't catch a taxi, but also out of just wanting to not lean on people, which, not always the best trait, but at that point, that's just what I knew. So I think that goes on for a little while as well. So I've got those 2 clients. I'm pretty much doing 3 jobs, but ultimately all that is to help build this life that I can I'm starting to manifest. I can see it. I can see where it's all going to go, because your little things that you've been doing for 2 or 3 years start to come together. So the lesson for that one is, because I hear people do this all the time, and it's real easy for me to say it now because I've had all these things, these great things come to me, but stop focusing on when it's going to happen and just do the things. Do the things you've got to do each day. The universe is not it's not set, it just has its own little set way of doing things, and I actually believe now that everything's planned out for you. It's just what it is, and it's just all unfolding for you. But you got to do the things. Going to do those 3 jobs, going to do the PT certificate, all those really hard, shitty things I had to do are balancing out white balls. So if you've got you've got 10 balls in your life, right? And they might all be black. Mine might have probably all black from just living a shit life, not doing good things. So I'm slowly turning them into white balls. And then the white balls are the really fortunate, grateful things you get in your life. But you got to do the things to earn those white balls. You don't just get them fucking given to you. So this is where the white balls start to balance out and all the good shit starts to happen. And I don't really know this is kind of where it all starts to me, even standing here doing this, right? So I've got those the 2 jobs, the Monday to Friday job and the weekend in my own business. And then out of nowhere, my business, I'm just running on weekends and I'm doing no marketing for it, I don't know where it all came from, but a shitload of work just starts flooding in, and all of a sudden I'm oh fuck, I could go back to business for myself. And yeah, I'm doing pretty good at the car dealership, but it's just not for me. And I can feel it's not for me. So I like just jump back out on my own. And within 18 months of like being back out on my own, I've built that thing back up. I've got staff, and I'm like, well, I'm gonna like, and this is also a weird situation too. And this is about like being really aware of what it is you need, and not really focusing on what you should. Like people will tell you all the time, you should just do this. But like sometimes we get told that advice, but we know in here it's not like the best decision for us. It made no sense to sell that detailing business, but somehow it's built itself back up. It's worth quite a bit of money at this point. It's doing really well. And I go, oh, I'm going to sell this because I can like, it's just not fulfilling. Like it's not challenging me. It's just like, it's just a job probably. It's something I'm really good at, but it's not fulfilling. It's not really giving back. And if I go right back, and this is where reflection's a really important tool, if I go right back to when I was walking the yard at Port Phillip, in the prison yard, it was like, after I'd escaped from jail and done all these fucking ridiculous things, like I had this like urge that I had to do something with it. Not just go back to do a normal life. Like I had to do something with that experience. And you're never going to do that when you're detailing trucks for a living. Yeah, you could like, and I think at the time me and Jesse had started to talk about me doing some mentoring and stuff like that, and that may have filled the cup, but anyway, I went, no, I'm just going to sell this. And that's where the Peak Shape thing happened. So that brings me all the way back to sort of where we are now. I think that's like April 22 when I took over Peak Shape, so only 2 years ago. And it was pretty chaotic in the beginning. Like I was still running 2 businesses, so life's full on. But I've done like a full 360. Like when I was a criminal, I'm chasing freedom, I'm chasing community, but I'm like chasing in all these like really shitty places. And we all know the saying about like pick your people, like pick your tribe, all that kind of thing. It is ultimately like they'll depict who you are. That's pretty true. Like, but you're still chasing the same things. So now I've found freedom in running a legitimate business, and I've found community in like what I do every day and the people I interact with on a whole different level. And this is, once again, going back to reflection. Like reflection is like the ultimate tool if you want to gain awareness of your decisions and make more decisions. Like ultimately it's like the most important thing. So that leads us to where we are now, right? So doing the things I'm doing now, like I'm purely like grateful and blessed to like do what I'm doing here every day. If I go back to where I was years ago, but it's like still hard, and I'm not going to paint as a picture as if life's fucking beautiful now, because it's still really hard. And I hear you guys say all the time like how it's really hard. It's hard to turn up, yeah. Some days it's really hard. Some days you don't feel like it. We all feel the same. And I'm sure Simone will say the same thing. Like you'll hear her speak today, and you'll think that she's got it all together, yeah, but we still go through all the same shit. I still have an inner critic I've got to talk back to, and I've got tools and habits that we're going to go through today about that. I still find it fucking overwhelming some days. There's an immense amount of pressure, but the tools and the habits I fall back onto are how I dig out of that hole really quickly. So that's mostly what we're going to learn today, is those tools and habits. But in order to reflect, we've got to get real deep on that shit like I just did then, all right? So don't be scared to like speak up, because this is how we're going to help each other. You do it all the time in the gym, it's just a bit of a deeper version of that. And look, after all that, probably the 2 main things I want to finish on. Manifestation, really important. That whole story I just bored you with. So where I am now, so the current life I have, like the business in its current state, my relationships, all that stuff, I could literally, genuinely visualise that shit years ago. And like where I'm going now, I can literally picture it up here. Makes it far easier to execute if you can manifest it. Once you can manifest it, you should write it down. Write it down and then set and forget it. Get it out of here. There's no point having it up here. It's just taking up valuable space for something else. So manifestation. And the other thing would be setting intentions for each day. And now, a to-do list is not an intention. Saying what I'm going to do today is not an intention. Saying who am I going to be today, that's an intention. Am I going to be resilient today? Am I going to be driven today? Am I going to be supportive today? Because we all play different roles each and every day for the people around us, and that's just all it is. Some days you guys need me to be a prick, and other days you need me to support you. So that's how you set your intentions, and ultimately that's how you get the positive feedback, like energy-wise, the positive energy transferred back by actually setting intentions about who you're going to be, not what you're going to do. The things you do are just going to happen. And I'll finish it with a little quote. And it's a good one, I like it. Each day's a new box. You're the one who decides what's in that box. It can be a gift. It could be a bag of coal. But you're the one who decides what's in the box. That's it. So I'm going to welcome Simone up. She's going to go through some of her, get some of her advice out. It's a very